Hi everyone, I am Janae Adams. For those of you who do not know me, I speak all around the country about financial literacy and also consult with higher education institutions and corporations around financial wellness. I am doing this video because so many of you reached out to me about my topic around the Morehouse graduates 2019, where billionaire Robert F. Smith announced that he was going to pay off all their student loan debt. And of course it has been all over the news, all over social media, because it is an awesome thing that he did, and it's a great gift. And a lot of people wish that they were in that class of Morehouse 2019, but of course there are thousands of college graduates that were not in that class. And so I did go on the news this morning to share tips for everybody that was not among the lucky few that were able to get their student loan debt paid off just like that. I shared 3 tips, and I wanted to do this video to go first and foremost deeper into those 3 tips, because when I'm on the news I only get about 2 minutes to go through my strategies, and so I wanted to go deeper on this video. But in addition to that, I also want to give tips to higher ed institutions, as well as those in city government, state government, as well as those who are employers. So those are in human resources, or if you are a CEO of a company. Because believe it or not, the reason you've seen all of the hype around him paying off the student loan debt is because student loan debt sits at $1.5 trillion. And everybody is affected by it, not just the students that are on a college campus or the graduates who graduated 10, 20 years ago, but there are grandmothers and parents who have taken out loans on behalf of children. So it touches a lot of people. That's why this story really pushed its way through the country, and I'm sure through the world, because it was just a great story overall. So first, I did the 3 tips on the news, and the first tip was basically know what you have. Be in the know. Those who have already graduated, I don't care if it was 10 years ago, who have graduated recently within this year or last year, you need to know what type of loans you have. You'll be so surprised how many people don't know whether they have a federal loan, a private loan, or both. And not knowing can really mess up your money. What I shared on the news is that when you have a private loan, a lot of times those interest rates can fluctuate, and they usually only fluctuate up. And so when they do that, that means your payments go up to a point that you can't even pay them anymore, and you go into default. That's why a lot of people are in default, student loan default in this country. So you really need to know whether you have federal loans or private loans, because that depends on what kind of payments you're going to have. Another thing is, it can determine how, if you have to refinance your loans. There are a lot of different repayment programs when you have federal loans. But if you start refinancing and mixing up private loans and federal loans, those repayment programs that are currently available go away from you. So the income-based repayment programs that the federal government has, or the student loan forgiveness programs that the federal government has, you put those in jeopardy when you start refinancing and mixing federal and private loans together. That's why it's so important for you to know what type of loans you have. Now, the second tip I shared was to live beneath your means. Now, everybody, whether you have student loan debt or not, can benefit from this tip. Living beneath your means. A lot of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I'm sure a lot of people in the world live paycheck to paycheck. It's because we outspend our money. When you graduate from college, you basically have a clean slate. You can start things off the right way with your salary. A lot of you may be making $2,500 a month, $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month if you work for certain companies. But that means nothing if you have thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. You have a salary, but you also have a hole to dig out of. So that's why it's important to live beneath your means. So what I shared on the news is that, let's say you make $3,000 a month. You need to live on $1,000 a month. And that's where a lot of graduates make the mistake. You see that money is coming in, and it's the most money you ever had in your life, and I understand that. But you can't go out and just live at $3,000 a month, or you're not going to make it. You're going to default on your student loans, and you're going to be behind on a lot of bills because life happens, and we'll talk a little bit about that in my third tip. But you need to live on half or less than half of what you're making. So if you're making $3,000 a month, you need to find a way to live on $1,000 a month, at the most $1,500 a month. And you need to figure it out. You're probably thinking, I can't do that. You just was a college student for 2 or 4 years living on nothing. I think you can live on $3,000 a month. $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month while making $3,000 a month, okay? It can be done. It's just that whether you want to do it or not. The whole point of this is that how stressed are you about your student loans? How much do you want to get them out of your life? Because let me give you a news flash. You can't bankrupt student loans. Okay, you cannot bankrupt student loans. They can't come back and take your diploma like they can a house or a car, and that's why you can bankrupt those things. You can't bankrupt student loan debt. You're going to pay it one way or another. You're going to pay it either in them taking your tax refund next year, or them in the future if you retire and it's Social Security available, which it probably will not be, but they'll take your Social Security check. And if you die and you still have student loan debt and you own some things, maybe you own a house, maybe you own some other things, those things have to be sold to pay for that student loan debt before anything else can be distributed out to anybody in your will. You cannot bankrupt student loan debt. So this is why it is so important for you to take this tip of living beneath your means and being able to take your check and just living on less than what that check is. So imagine that you make $3,000 a month, but you live off of $1,000 each month. That's $2,000 a month you have to pay towards your student loan debt. That's $24,000 in 1 year towards your student loan debt. And for some of you, a lot of you, that's it. That's all you need, that or less. This is how I paid off $50,000 of debt in 2 years. We live beneath our means, and we also made other extra money. And I share that whenever I'm on campuses with college students, or if I'm in a corporation talking to employees. I give all those kind of strategies. But a major strategy is that we lived on less than we made, and we took all the extra money and paid it towards the debt. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is to do the exact same thing. So that was tip number 1 and 2. Tip number 3 was to have an in case you are breathing fund. A lot of people call it emergency fund. I call it in case you are breathing fund, because if you're breathing, something can happen. And I would like for you all that just graduated in 2019 to have at least $1,500 saved for emergencies. And that is before you start paying extra on your student loan. So to get the $1,500 in a bank account first in savings that you do not touch. It is not for trips. It is not for clothes. It is not for eating out. It is money you don't touch unless an emergency comes up. And now that you're out of college, life is going to come at you fast. Life is going to come at you fast. I don't care who you are. Life is going to come at you fast. It could be even in the form of you just getting a new career started, and you're in one part of the country on the East Coast, and the job is in the Midwest or the West Coast, and they're not going to pay for relocation. Your $1,500 can help you get to that new career that pays you $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, because you had the in case you're breathing fund. So it's very important for you to have that, not only because you have to pay off this student loan debt, but because it is a safety net. It takes the stress off of you. So that was the third tip that I gave on the news. But I want to talk about something that nobody on the news is talking about. None of these stories are covering that. Although these Morehouse graduates are now debt-free as far as student loan debt is concerned, they're not out the clear when it comes to debt in general. Here's a news flash. I graduated college debt-free with $10,000 in the bank at the age of 21. And after graduation that Monday, I went into a career making $55,000 a year at the age of 21. And guess what? I still ended up in $50,000 of debt. So these Morehouse graduates are not actually in the clear when it comes to their finances. They are basically me. They are leaving school without any student loan debt. They're like other student athletes who don't have any student loan debt leaving out. They're like those students who are graduating with no student loan debt because they were on academic scholarships for 4 years. We're all in the same boat. And guess what? We still have the opportunity. I still got into $50,000 of debt because life happens. And many people that have heard my story knows how I got into that $50,000 of debt before I got out of it in 2 years. But a lot of people are envious about these Morehouse graduates who were able to get their student loan debt paid off by Robert F. Smith. But they're not in the clear. And they can still end up in debt, and that is a threat to them. So this is why I wanted to do tips for higher ed institutions, for city government officials and state officials, as well as those who are superintendents over school systems, and those who are in human resources or CEOs of companies. Because let me tell you this, getting one of those Morehouse graduates is going to be a leg up for you all that are in human resources. It's a leg up for you all at Morehouse because they have money to give back. So this is what these tips are about. They have a leg up. They still have an issue that they may end up being in more debt, just like I was. But right now they have an advantage as long as they keep on the same path of being debt free. So the tips I have for higher ed institutions, because I work with a lot of higher ed institutions all year round, all over the country, whenever I go and speak, whenever I do consulting around financial wellness programs, around helping their students pay off their student loan debt quickly, helping them stay in school for 2 or 4 years, because that's a big problem, is retention and graduation rates. And it all has to do with money. It all has to do with not the student loan debt, because a lot of times they are not going to be paying that back. Even though I've had a lot of students who've heard me speak, pay it back while they're in college. But a lot of times it's just money issues. It's just money issues from home. It's money issues while they're in school. They can't work as much as they would want to pay off, bills and so forth, whether they're living off campus and so forth. And a lot of times they work so much that their studies end up getting hurt by that, and they end up dropping out because of that. But the root issue is always around money. So my tip for higher ed institutions, I don't care if you're a chancellor, I don't care if you're a dean, I don't care if you are a professor, is having effective financial literacy programs, events, student money management centers, whatever it may be, and making sure that whatever that looks like to you, that it involves topics, it involves events and programs that center around their money. Not investing, not credit and so forth, but their money. These students are trying on your campus. They're trying to figure out how to stay on your campus. They're trying to figure out how to have extra money in their pockets. So they need to be approached in a different way. Not the traditional way that worked for their parents or their grandparents. No, you need to show them how to use their hobbies to make money. So they don't have to go work for a restaurant that wants them to work when they want them to work. But they need to be in their study group, or they need to be working on a project that is due, that affects their overall grade. You need to show them how to be able to use social media to their advantage to find scholarships, to be able to find money without stressing themselves out, how to say no to family at home asking for their refund checks. These are the kind of things that need to be talked about when it comes to financial literacy. And I know financial literacy is a buzzword, financial wellness is a buzzword, but this is real. This is how you keep your students on your campus year after year and get them to graduation faster. And making sure not only that, but when they get out of college, they pay their student loans off quickly so that they can be prosperous alumni who are able to give back, who are able to be the next Robert F. Smiths. Whether it's on the level of what he did, or whether it's just sending in $100 a month to help another student out that reminds them of them when they were in college, gives them a leg up. So if you are a higher ed institution, effective financial literacy is important, and it's more important each and every day. The more and more that states are taking away funding, the money has to come from the students. That has to come from their parents. And so you having effective financial wellness programs, events, student money management centers, because they are around the country as well. They're rare, but people do have student money management centers. It will help your students out in order to help them get from their first year to their second year, then on to their third year, their fourth year, on to graduation. And it's going to give them a leg up to find the internships, the paid internships they need, and the high-paying careers they need. All of that is in financial literacy. It's not the old things where you bring in, no offense bankers, no offense financial advisors, when you bring them in to talk about things that unfortunately don't move the needle for the students you're serving. A lot of financial advisors reach out to me about students and how they invest and all this kind of thing. They don't have money to invest right now. I'm trying to get them to that point so that they can be in a position where they can invest a lot. And so on college campuses, it's not about investing, it's not about credit and so forth. It's about how do they financially stay on this campus? How do they financially graduate? How do they financially pay these student loan debts off quickly so they can participate in the economy? So that's my tips for higher ed institutions. Now on to those who are in when I'm talking about being able to give back and being able to, thinking about city governments and corporations and state governments as well as superintendents. That is also what is so important about what colleges are doing if they have effective financial literacy. For those who are superintendents and you're thinking about K through 12, I don't want to go through K through 12. I want to think about your 9th through the 12th grade, because that's when they're thinking about going to college. They're thinking about going to college then, but what college should they go to? That is where, and a lot of states are doing it. They're thinking about having financial literacy courses as a way of graduating, which is great and it needs to be done, but making sure that you're implementing effective financial literacy even at a high school level. Because once again, in those financial literacy courses that are usually out there, I don't put them in mine that I have for high school students, but a lot of times they are talking about mortgages and investing and credit. They're talking about this to a 14-year-old or 16 or 17-year-old. When this student needs to understand, how can I go to college on a scholarship? How can I go to the right college that has my major in it and a major that's going to make sure that I have a career afterwards? That is the kind of financial literacy that needs to be done in high school. And I'm talking to the superintendents right now. I'm talking to those who are in state government that are passing laws to make sure that financial literacy is mandatory. If you want to be able to produce high school graduates and in the future college graduates that are going to be contributors to society once they get out of high school or get out of college, their financial literacy needs to look a little different than it's looking right now in high schools. It needs to make sure that they are talking about spending plans that relate to them, not some magical spending plan that'll be in the future when they have a job. That makes no sense to them right now. What's the spending plan that's going to help them pay for prom? What's the spending plan that's going to help them pay to get their hair done or to be able to get that book that they wanted that their parents can't buy? What kind of financial advice do you have for them to make sure that if they're on government assistance, how can they use coupons to make that money go further? How can they contribute back to the household so that their mother or their father or their parents don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs? This is effective and real financial literacy that can really improve the lives of your high school students. It can improve the lives of the people who live in your city or live in your state. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about effective financial literacy on the high school level. And that's why I have this tip for those who are superintendents, city government and state government. Because when you do this, you're going to increase the finances of households where you live at. And what that does is that puts them on a better foothold for those students who are going on to college. and it's helping out the colleges that they're going to, because they're coming in with scholarship money. They're coming in with money saved. They're coming in with a financial mindset that helps them stay in school. And then hopefully the colleges are picking them up from there and having effective financial wellness programs or financial literacy programs to get them to graduation. And then on from that, then that's where the companies pick them up at. And that's where I want to talk next about my tips. Is for those of you who have to deal with high school graduates, college graduates coming out and their money. A lot of you may be thinking, like, if you're an HR director, or you're in human resources, if you're a CEO of a company, you may be thinking, you know what? Okay, I understand they have student loan debt, but that has nothing to do with me or their job here. You are wrong. Their student loan debt, their financial pressures, in fact, everyone at your company who has financial pressures affect your bottom line. It's a decrease in your product, in their productivity, which means it's a decrease in the profits that they can bring you. A lot of companies, they're growing each and every year. A lot of companies are adding financial wellness programs to their company. I deal with a lot of them. The reason they're doing that is because they know that over half of their employees are worried about their finances. A third of them spend 4 hours a week. 4 hours a week on the phone talking about money issues. It may be on the phone with their student loan debt collectors. It may be on the phone with credit card companies. It may be on the phone with the light company. Whatever it is, they're spending 4 hours a week, not on what they're supposed to be doing between their 8 and 5, but on their money and their finances. And guess what that does? That takes away from the work they're doing, that increases your bottom line. What this leads to for you all, and for those who are at companies, those who are in HR, it is going to get worse. As student loan debt continues to go up, that means their distractions go up with them. So like I was saying with the Morehouse graduates, they're coming in fresh on Monday. When they start their new jobs, whenever that may be, they're coming in fresh. They are debt free, and they're coming in, they're ready to work because they have nothing on their plates. And hopefully they won't be like me and end up getting in $50,000 of debt and becoming distracted at work. Hopefully they will stay debt free and be a productive employee for you and increase your bottom line each and every year that they're with you. But everybody else that comes in that was not in that Morehouse crowd, they are coming in with thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. And in 6 months, the calls are going to start coming to them because the student loan debt, the federal government or private loans, they're going to want their money. They're going to want their payments. And when that starts, if those graduates have not lived beneath their means, if they have gotten a 2-bedroom apartment they didn't need and furnished it on credit, and they have all those bills coming in addition to their utilities and their rent, and now a $200 student loan payment, a $100 student loan payment, a $500 student loan payment, a $1,000 a month student loan payment starts coming in, you better believe work is not going to get done as well while they're there with you from 8 to 5. And that distraction, that lack of focus is going to cost you money. So my tip to you all is that if you don't have a financial wellness program, you really need to look into it. You really need to think about what kind of events you can have, that even onboarding. So when these graduates come in, or even new employees come in, because majority of America is in debt. It may not be student loan debt, but they are in debt somewhere. It can be credit card debt, it can be furniture debt, it can be mortgage debt, and it's stressing them out. So even in the onboarding process, that is somewhere that you can actually have effective financial wellness program in place, so that they start off on the right foot with you, so that they are actually focused going forward and making the company money and being productive while they're doing it. So I just wanted to do this video. I know it was a little long, but I put a lot of content in it because I wanted to help those of you who were definitely amazed about what Robert F. Smith did with the Morehouse graduates, and you were sitting there wishing, I wish that was me. It can be you. As soon as I seen all the hoopla around it, I said to myself, everybody that's talking about this, you can do it too. You can be free of your student loan debt if you have the strategies in place, if you have the tips in place. And I added something extra with the tips with the higher ed institutions and the city government, the state government, superintendents, as well as HR professionals and CEOs, because I wanted you to know that you can help those who have student loan debt that you run into. And guess what? When you do that, you benefit greatly from it. Each group that I talked about, you benefit greatly from the tips that I just shared, if you are pretty much helping those that have the student loan debt, okay? I am Janae Adams. Thank you for watching this video. If you ever have any questions, you can definitely always reach out to me on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, on my website at debtsucksuniversity.com. DM me with any questions you may have. And I am continuing on with my speaking tour this year. I have a lot more dates going out through this year, as well as my consultant clients with financial wellness programs as well. So if I'm in your city, make sure that you reach out to me if you have any questions or anything, and I would love to connect. So thank you again for watching this, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the day.